It was supposed to be a night of laughter, champagne, and no drama. A rare Genoa City occasion when the men and women went their separate ways to celebrate the upcoming nuptials of two of the town's most beloved and sometimes beleaguered residents. The air buzzed with celebration. Even the ice in the martini glasses clinked with a festive rhythm. But in the young and the restless, peace never lasts long. And when Phyllis Summers decides to make an appearance, uninvited, the tension in the room can turn electric in seconds. This time, though, it wasn't just her words that nearly exploded into chaos. It was her temper and her heartbreak that had her on the verge of throwing hands before Spoiler physically had to intervene. A party divided. The night began innocently enough. The women gathered at society, dressed to the nines in sequins and soft curls, while the men headed to the athletic club rooftop for whiskey, poker, and a bit of old-school bravado. Abby's laughter rang out as she clinked glasses with Mariah, while Chelsea whispered a mischievous comment to Sally, earning twin bursts of laughter from across the table. Sharon played the role of peacekeeper, ensuring the conversations didn't drift into dangerous territory, namely, exes. "I think we can all agree," she said, lifting her champagne flute, "that for one night, no talk of heartbreak, no grudges, and absolutely no mention of who once kissed whose fiancé." Cue nervous laughter. Meanwhile, across town, Nick and Adam were managing to keep their mutual disdain in check, barely. Chance dealt another round of cards, while Nate ribbed Devon about wedding nerves. For once, the Abbott and Newman worlds were separated by more than just family drama. They were separated by location. Until Phyllis decided to change that. The crash heard around Genoa City. Phyllis Summers had told herself all day she wasn't going. She'd even promised Daniel she'd stay home and meditate, her word for binge-watching true crime documentaries while sipping a very large glass of Merlot. But something about the thought of everyone else toasting, laughing, moving on without her, that stung. She'd been the topic of whispers for months now, the subject of too many hushed conversations and sympathetic glances, and Phyllis didn't do well with being pitied. So, dressed in scarlet and determination, she showed up at society, the kind of dramatic entrance that made people drop forks and blink twice. "Oh my God," whispered Sally, nudging Mariah. "Please tell me she's not." "She is," Mariah murmured. "She absolutely is." Phyllis strode in like she owned the place. The music didn't stop, but it should have. "Well," she said, tossing her hair back, "aren't we all just one big happy family?" Champagne turns to dynamite. At first, the women tried to diffuse her with politeness. Abby plastered on her practiced hostess smile. "Phyllis, I didn't know you were joining us tonight." "I wasn't invited," Phyllis replied flatly, grabbing a glass of champagne off a passing tray. "But you know me. Never let a detail like that stop me before." Nikki exchanged a wary glance with Sharon. "Phyllis," she said gently, "maybe tonight isn't the right time." "The right time for what, Nikki?" Phyllis snapped. "For me to pretend I'm okay with how everyone's moving on. For me to smile and clap while half of you act like you've never stabbed anyone in the back." Mariah muttered under her breath. "Oh, this is going downhill fast." Enter the fireworks and Spoiler. As if the universe were writing a cruel joke, Spoiler walked through the doors at that exact moment, the one person guaranteed to light the fuse. If it's Jack Abbott, he froze mid-step, realizing instantly that nothing good could come from this. If it's Diane, her smile faltered, her hand instinctively brushing her necklace. If it's Nick, his shoulders dropped, already exhausted by the storm brewing before his eyes. Whoever it was, their presence only sharpened Phyllis's rage. "You've got to be kidding me," she hissed. "You just had to show up, didn't you? Couldn't let me have one night without your smug little face ruining it." Spoiler held up a hand, calm but firm. "Phyllis, don't do this, not here." "Don't what, exactly?" she shot back. "Don't tell the truth. Don't remind everyone that while they're busy playing happy families, I'm still the villain of the piece." Her voice carried across the entire restaurant. Phones went down. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Chelsea looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. Abby whispered something to Tessa, who was already inching toward the door. The moment everything snapped, Spoiler took a cautious step forward. "Phyllis, please, you're upset and I get it, but this isn't." "Don't patronize me," she shouted, slamming her glass on the table so hard the stem cracked. The pop of breaking glass was like a gunshot, and for a split second, no one moved. Then Phyllis lunged, whether toward Spoiler or simply toward the nearest emotional exit, no one could tell. But it was enough to send everyone scrambling. That's when Spoiler grabbed her by the arms, holding her firmly in place. "Stop it," they said through gritted teeth. "You're not doing this again, not like this." Phyllis struggled, furious and humiliated, her voice breaking. "Get your hands off me. You don't get to play the hero now." But she wasn't pulling away to fight, she was shaking. Her anger was a cover, one heartbeat away from breaking down. And Spoiler, for all their frustration, realized that too late. The entire room was silent, the kind of silence that hangs heavy, waiting for someone to either apologize or explode. The fallout. It took Sharon stepping in, her calm voice cutting through the tension, to ground the room again. "Everyone, take a breath. Let's give Phyllis and Spoiler a minute." Abby nodded quickly, ushering the other women toward the bar. Chelsea mouthed "call me later" to Phyllis as she passed, while Sally muttered, "This is why I stick to mocktails." When the crowd finally dispersed, Phyllis sagged against the wall, breathing hard. Her mascara had started to smudge, but her pride was still intact, barely. Spoiler loosened their grip, watching her carefully. "You can't keep doing this," they said quietly. "You can't keep showing up looking for fights. You're better than that." She laughed bitterly. "Am I? Because I'm starting to think no one believes that anymore." "Then prove them wrong," they replied, "starting with tonight." Phyllis wiped at her eyes, the anger fatting into something more fragile. "You think I came here to fight?" she asked, voice low. "I came because I just wanted to feel like I still mattered, like I wasn't invisible." For the first time that evening, Spoiler didn't have a comeback. Meanwhile, across town, word travels fast in Genoa City, faster than a text thread in the Newman family group chat. By the time the men's party hit round 3 of poker, Chance's phone was already buzzing. He frowned at the message, then looked up. Looks like Phyllis just crashed the Bachelorette party," he announced. Nick groaned audibly. "Of course she did." Adam smirked. "Please tell me she didn't throw a drink." "Worse," Chance said. "Apparently Spoiler had to physically hold her back." Devin shook his head. "Man, that woman doesn't know when to quit." But Jack, if he was there, said nothing. He simply stared at his cards, jaw tightening. Old habits die hard, and guilt has a way of reopening wounds you thought had healed. A quiet aftermath. Back at Society, cleanup had begun. The music was off, the lights were low, and the once festive atmosphere had dissolved into awkward silence. Phyllis sat alone at a corner table, staring into what was left of her champagne. Spoiler had stayed nearby, not close enough to crowd her, but close enough to make sure she didn't spiral further. "You don't have to babysit me," she murmured. "I'm not," Spoiler said. "Just making sure you're okay." She glanced up, searching their face for mockery and finding none. "I'll be fine. I always am. That's my curse." There was a long pause. Then, softly, "You know, Phyllis, being fine isn't the same as being happy." That earned a faint smile. "Don't get all philosophical on me now." But the weight in her voice betrayed something deeper. Exhaustion, loneliness, and maybe even regret. What comes next? By morning, the story would be everywhere, from the GC buzz gossip blogs to the boardroom chatter at Jabot. Some would call it a meltdown, others, a cry for help. But for Phyllis Summers, it would be something else entirely, a turning point. Because when you hit rock bottom in Genoa City, there are only 2 options: sink deeper into the chaos or claw your way back to redemption. And if there's one thing Phyllis has always done better than anyone, it's fighting her way out of the fire she helped ignite. Still, the memory of that night, of Spoiler's hands gripping her arms, of the shocked faces around her, of the silence that followed, would linger. Not because it was humiliating, but because, for once, someone hadn't let her self-destruct completely. For a woman who's spent years burning bridges, that might be the first step toward building something new. The final glance. As the janitor turned off the last light in society, Phyllis slipped out into the cool Genoa city night. Her heels clicked against the pavement, her hair still a little wild from the chaos. Behind her, Spoiler called out softly, "Hey, you sure you're okay to drive?" She turned, smirking faintly. "Don't worry, I've crashed enough for one night." And with that, she disappeared into the shadows, not defeated but determined. Because if anyone knows how to turn humiliation into motivation, it's Phyllis Summers. And whether Genoa City is ready or not, she's far from done.